Welcome. Thank you for being here. We will be beginning our presentation shortly. My name is Megan, and I'm here to say welcome to our 7 Pillars of ELAN webinar. It's an online collaboration session about building democracy through libraries. As you enter, please drop your first name, country, and your role or connection to libraries in the chat. Thanks for being here. Hi. Thank you to everyone for being here. Thank you, Camilla, for writing in the chat and joining us from Italy. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us from Scotland. Awesome. As you enter, please go ahead and drop your first name, the country you're joining us from, and your role and connection to libraries. Thank you for being here. Hi, Alison. Also from Scotland, welcome. Hello, Tomas. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Alma from Lithuania. Nice to have you here. Hello, Victoria from Moldova. Welcome. And Vesna from a school library. Excellent. Just like myself. Daniela, also from Moldova. Welcome. Matthias, thank you for being here from Germany. Dominica, thank you for joining us from the Czech Republic. We're glad to have you. Gordana from Serbia, thank you for joining us. Hi, Beatriz from Spain. Thank you for joining. Barbara from Milan. Awesome. Glad to have you. All right. So we've had about 5 minutes, so let's go ahead and jump into our presentation. Thank you again for joining us. And if you haven't yet, you still have time to write in the chat your name, your country you're joining us from, and your role or connection to libraries. Thanks again for being here. Let's jump in. Here we go. So first of all, our presentation today will be in English. So if you would like to activate the subtitles, please do so. Here are the steps on how to add them. Within the Teams meeting, please click on the More button, which you should find at the top of the screen with those 3 little dots. It'll be next to the camera icon. From there, please select Choose Language and Speech. Then click on Show Live Captions. Step 2, the subtitles banner will appear at the bottom of the screen below the camera view. On the right-hand corner of that banner, please click on Language Settings, and from there, a new pop-up will appear, and it will ask you which language you would like the webinar to be translated into. Please do not change the language at the top of the screen that says the language that we are speaking in, which we will keep as English. If you need any assistance, please use the Q&A or the chat to let us know. All right, so our norms of participation for today. Thank you again for being here. And in order to have an excellent webinar where everyone feels comfortable sharing and learning from each other, we are requesting that everyone come with a spirit of non-judgment, meaning that we are open to listening to other people's ideas and that everyone feels that their ideas are valued and worthy of being shared. That goes with participation. So we'd love to hear from you. Even though we're in different countries all over the world right now, it's really, really awesome for us to have a moment to share with each other. So go ahead and try to use some of those reactions that you can see at the top of your toolbar to let me know that you're here. You can write in the chat. You can turn on your camera. I love seeing your faces. But that goes with the question of confidentiality. Just something to keep in mind is that this webinar is being recorded and it will be shared. So if you don't feel comfortable Please be mindful of that. In addition, if you're giving information about your private library setting or institution or patrons, please be mindful of protecting their confidentiality. While I'm speaking or any of our presenters today, please go ahead and turn off your microphone. Unless you have a question, and when we go into the breakout rooms, we would love it if you have your microphones on and also your cameras, but not mandatory again. All right, so our objective for today. Today, we're talking about how can libraries work to promote democracy in Europe? And we are very fortunate that we have a few guest speakers today to speak with us about it. And I've also forgotten to introduce myself. So my name is Megan Lee, and I am a librarian and an educator from Los Angeles, California, but I am residing in France, and at the moment working for Bibliothèques Sans Frontières on the Libri project, which is a project that reunites 5 different countries within the European Union about promoting democracy through the support of welcoming migrants into public library settings. And also here from EBLIDA, we have from us Andrew Cranfield, who is here, and Camila, who is joining us as well from Milan, from EBLIDA. And we have our presenters that you'll be meeting shortly. So our guest speaker number 1 is going to be Asmund Bertelsen, who will be speaking. Then we will have a breakout session, which will be a roundtable, followed by our second guest speaker, Mihai Lupu, who is joining us from Romania, followed by breakout session number 2, and we'll have a share out with findings and a closing. So some of you have already participated by writing in the chat, telling us where you're coming from, and I'm going to request that you participate again. So in the chat, could you respond? What are the threats to democracy that you believe could be directly addressed at the library level? It's a pretty big question, I know. So take a moment to consider, what are the threats to democracy that you believe could be addressed at the library level? So when we're thinking about threats to democracy, it's quite a big topic. So thinking about then and the library space, how can we at the library level address that? Give you just a few minutes. Free speech, lack of democratic values, media literacy, social loneliness. Oh, wow, you guys are blowing up the chat. I love it. Spread of misinformation, inclusive collection building, community engagement and social innovation, disinformation and media bias, media and AI literacy. Excellent. We already have a lot of ideas going. Contextualization of collections. Ooh, I want to hear more about that one. Disinformation, critical thinking, freedom of speech, freedom of opinion, right to information. Division in communities, bringing people together. Oh, that's so beautiful. Yes, absolutely. Everyone is welcome no matter where they come from or by their religion or politics. You guys are making me feel good already. Awesome. Okay. If anyone else wants to share, otherwise we'll go ahead and jump into our first guest speaker so that we can get a little bit deeper into this topic. So I'm going to be now introducing Asmund Bertelsen, who is the democracy developer and project manager at Culture and Citizen Services from Denmark. I want to make sure I pronounce that. I didn't practice that term. The name of your city, is it Aarhus? Help me out.
Sounds very right. Yeah.
Sounds right?
Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm going to let you go ahead and share your screen now.
Thank you. Yes, and you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for this opportunity to tell you a bit about how we work with democracy at Aarhus Public Libraries. Shortly about me, my name is Asmund Bertelsen, as you already heard, and I work as a project manager and what we call a democracy developer at Aarhus Public Libraries. The background of our democracy initiative is that we, since 2020, have had a strategic focus on how libraries can promote democratic engagement. And we do so at all of our 18 libraries. Our main library, as you see in the picture here, is called Doc 1, and we have 17 local libraries besides that. And as I said, we work across all 18 libraries on how to promote democratic engagement. And yeah, we have been doing so for the last 6 years. And our starting point is that a strong democracy starts with people taking part. So we believe that democracy is much more than just a form of government. Democracy is also everything that goes on between citizens and in civic life. Actually, that we believe that is what helps keep democracy alive and strong. So if we want a strong democracy, we have to make sure that we all take as much part in democracy as possible. But we also know that it's not easy. So we have to do something. And we believe that the libraries can provide the infrastructure to make it possible. In the picture here, you see a map, and all the yellow small dots are the libraries in Aarhus municipality. And we view the libraries as I said, an infrastructure for democracy. Spread all over the municipality, we here have hubs where people can meet and engage in democracy in different ways. And we see 4 main ways public libraries can support engagement in democracy. First, we can talk about the free and equal access to knowledge and culture, which help us gain new perspectives and the necessary knowledge to participate in democracy. We also here in this category find all the aesthetic aspects, how literature can help widen our horizon, understand the world in new ways, understand how other people live, and so on. Another way that public libraries support engagement in democracy is just being a public space. The idea that we share a space and interact with strangers in itself strengthens the social cohesion in society. And we believe that is really, really important, especially in times where we can see that a tendency to more and more polarization. It becomes more and more important that we have these public spaces where we can meet and interact, share space with people who are not, who we will not meet other places. So when we experience that university students and people without homes share this space, they also connect to each other. Maybe not because they speak to each other or interact, but just that they share this space helps us to feel that we belong to the same community and the same society. Third, we have the library as a community hub, strengthening the social fabric through activities that connect people and spark conversation. All of these library activities help people form relations to each other. And again, that is very important in a democracy. If we do not connect to each other, we do not get the sense that we share the same, that we are part of the same society. And for us to take part in democracy, it is important that we connect to each other. And the library is maybe the best place in the world to do so, because it is a place where everyone is welcome. And if not at the library, then that is the only free non-commercial space we have in the public right now. And fourth, we have the library as a space for public discourse, debate, and disagreement. And we strive to create room where we can meet across differences and disagreements. And as I said before, because if not here, then there, where? So we try as much as possible to invite in for all kinds of public debates, and also to talk about the things that separate us and the things we disagree upon. And we believe that we can do something at the library that you cannot find in media. because we have the physical space where you can meet face to face, and where we in a safe way can talk about all of these things. So this is the four main ways we see that libraries support engagement in democracy. But you can also say this. So every activity in a public libraries, from events and conversation to literature and community projects, can help us take part in democracy. So why put a special focus on the library's role in promoting democratic engagement? After all, that is what we are already doing every day. So you can also say, just keep going and do what we do. But we still believe it's important to have a special focus on this democracy question, because democracy is under pressure. And we see that in almost all countries at the moment. And I just put in some of all the challenges there is to democracy, or threats to democracy at the moment. And there could probably be added other ones as well. And the starting question for this session here today: what threats do you see to democracy and how libraries can help? And I would say that libraries can help so to all of these threats, actually. It just depends on how we look at it. And so when we take all of our main ways on how public libraries support democracy, we try to take the threats to democracy into account and see, when we do what we do, how can we then help to solve some of these challenges to democracy? So it's not necessarily for us to do something new. It's much more that we try to take the democratic challenges or the threats to democracy into account when we do something. So when we create our activities or whatever we do, we have in the back of our head, how can we help support democracy while we do it? Often it's just small things that has to be adjusted. Maybe we have to be more aware of one target group and so on. And that is really my main point here is take democracy into account when you plan your library activities, and specifically look at how can you do something at your libraries to help support democracy. And these threats, they will vary from country to country, but making that analysis can really prove very valuable to your democracy work, because it can make it more focused. That said, our starting point when we work with democracy is always to strengthen what we call the citizens' democratic self-confidence. And democratic self-confidence is that you believe that you have something to say and you do it. That you experience that someone is willing to listen to you. And that you believe that you can act and influence society. So when we plan our activities or events or whatever we do, we try to make sure that those who participate will leave with more democratic self-confidence than they came with, or at least make sure they do not leave with less democratic self-confidence. But that takes something from us as library workers. We need to be aware of how we are hosts of democratic engagement. We talk about democratic hosting. So just as if we were hosts of a party, we have a responsibility here. And our responsibility is about democratic self-confidence. So we have to make sure there's the right atmosphere so that you believe that you can act and influence society. We have to care about the relations so that you experience that someone is willing to listen to you. And we have to make sure that you can take action one way or another. So I will try to outline how that could look. So when we talk about atmosphere, it can look in many different ways. But what is important is that you are aware that you have a responsibility to create a room where you believe you have something to say and you do it. So care for the people who are there, set up the room, facilitate so that it feels safe to express your opinions. So maybe instead of a room with the bright lights and chairs in rows and a podium, we can do all kind of different things. We can create smaller groups where people can talk to each other, where we can put a fireplace on a big screen. That small thing also helps us lower our shoulders and feel more comfortable. Or we can gather around a table where there's warm coffee. All of these things helps us create the atmosphere that we want. We want, and it's not, there's no real right or way to do this. It all depends on the context and the situation. It's just that it's very important to be aware that we have a responsibility to create the right atmosphere. And the same goes for the relations. How can we set up our things, our events, our activities, so that we experience that people are willing to listen to us? So maybe instead of putting only like politicians or decision makers on a podium and a stage, we can do all kind of different things. If you see the picture and in the right corner where people have these red and green cards, and say here's a lot of people and it's not possible for everyone to speak up, but instead you can participate by showing your red and green card. It's a small thing, but still very important so that you experience that someone is willing to listen to you. The picture opposite that, where you have a panel, it's a event about city development, and you have a panel of city developers, very powerful people. We would normally, or before we were aware of this, probably put them on a stage or at high tables and so on. Here we put them on very low chairs, so they are face to face with the people they are talking to and with. So it's much easier to interact. All of these things is just small things you can do so that you create the right relations. We also try to do all these kind of round table events where people meet and sit together to talk about current societal issues. All the time, it's about how can we create those experiences where you listen to each other and where you can express yourself. And thirdly, we have the action part. How can we try to hand over the microphone or the word to those who will not speak up, if we do not do something about it? How can we help people who have less democratic voice than others? How can we help form that action so they also believe that they can act and influence society? And again, you can do it in all kinds of different ways. It's just that we have to be aware that it matters what we do as hosts of democratic engagement. I think that was my short presentation.
That was incredible. Thank you so much. I got so many incredible ideas there that I definitely want to use, especially the red and green cards. It's such a simple thing that you can prep very easily and just make people feel engaged.
Yeah.
And the democratic seating with the physical layout, such a great idea instead of having this hierarchy of someone being at the front, at the top, higher up. Thank you for sharing that. Any other comments in the chat or questions? Please, guys, go ahead and write them, share. We're excited to hear from you. Thank you for that presentation. We're going to continue, and we're going to now, though, have an opportunity for all of us to share because we're going to go into breakout rooms. So
I think we have some questions in the chat.
Oh, amazing. Okay, hold on. Let me stop sharing for a second. Okay, so I see a question right here. From Giuseppe, 3 questions. A, from 27% to 50% of librarians in several countries in Europe have been the object of inappropriate pressure meaning censorship and self-censorship. How to fight it? Wow, that's a big question. And B, what is the relationship between the Agenda 2030 and democratic participation? C, how to measure democratic participation in libraries. Ooh, which indicators can be used? Wow. Asmund, do you have answers for any of these? Any of the, we don't have that much time to go into all of those. So if you want to choose one of those elements.
Yeah, I can maybe speak a bit about the third question, how to measure democratic participation in libraries, which indicators can be used. That's a really good and also very difficult question. We do not have like a quantitative indicators here, but we try to do a lot of qualitative interviews with people who participate to talk to them about how they experienced it. And so we learn from event to event. And we ask them, firstly, why did you show up? That's something that we often forget to ask our patrons. Why did you come? And how did you experience it? Why did you contribute? Why didn't you contribute? And so on. So it's a more in-depth, qualitative way we do it. Because we can't really measure it in that sense. But we know that we work, at the same time, we want to make sure that those groups who participate less in democracy than others come and participate more. So we do all kinds of activities targeted at those groups. And of course, we can see if we are successful in attracting those people. But I do not have like a list of quantitative measures on how to measure participation in libraries.
Thank you for that answer. Again, we don't have that much time, but I would like to address the second question that Andrew has asked is how do you decide what democratic themes to cover? Do you ask the community?
Yes, we do. You can say that we try to cover those issues that are relevant for the local communities. So one thing we have been working a lot with is you can talk about like hyper-local issues, because there's often people really want to talk about what is going on in their local community, but there's not that much media coverage of local issues. So we try to make sure that the library can be that place where you meet together with your fellow community members to debate and talk about what's going on where you live. So we follow the local news flow, and my very skilled local colleagues have a very good feeling of what is going on, and we invite people in for talks and debates about what's going on in that local community. And beside that, we try to cover the big things, the big themes that's relevant for the time being. And just we try to work as you do in a news editorial room. So be aware what is the current issues of our time, and make sure that we have something covering that. So we do not publish, of course, articles or videos, but we publish live events and activities.
Thank you so much for that answer. And I just wanted to also highlight Wang in the chat wrote something quite lovely. I just want to add that a lot of things we do every day seems normal and goes unnoticed, but it is exactly these everyday tasks that foster democracy. Absolutely. Civic engagement programs like mock voting and being a real poll station makes participation in democracy accessible, but the everyday tasks matter a lot. So thank you, guys.
Can only agree. Yeah.
All right, so then I will go ahead and move on into our next section, where I'm going to be asking that everyone goes ahead and participates in a breakout room. So I'll be sharing in the chat some roles that just kind of are helpful for facilitating a discussion, especially since we don't know each other and we're only going to be together for a brief time. But first of all, it can be helpful just to quickly decide in the group, hey, I'll be the facilitator, I'll guide the discussion. Number 2, if you want to have a note taker, someone that can record key points. Number 3, a timekeeper, someone that keeps track of the time. And number 4, a reporter someone who feels comfortable sharing with the whole group about what was said in your breakout room session. Again, we're fostering democracy, so we're putting it in action by participating ourselves. I know it can be kind of vulnerable, so thank you guys for your participation. So here are the things that I would love for us to discuss in the breakout room. First of all, introduce yourself, your local context, where are you coming from? You can discuss threats to democracy in your country and the European Union. You can identify how your association already supports democracy, as was said. All of the small everyday things we do, in fact, already are promoting it. And number 4, we can try to note any gaps in current services. So when we go into the breakout room, what I would love is I'm going to share with you in the chat like a little guide to help you out. So it's a Google document. If you would like, you could have the note taker make a copy of it. They could share their screen so that any notes that you take could be recorded there. This is completely optional. It's just there to help you. I am a teacher, like I said, and a school librarian, so I'm all about giving people graphic organizers. Can't help myself. And Camila, if there are any questions, guys, write it in the chat. Let us know, raise your hand. But let's go for it, guys. We've got 10 minutes on in your breakout room. I want to thank the members of my group. It was an awesome discussion, and I hope everyone else felt the same way. I want to go ahead, instead of asking people to share, jump into Mihai's presentation so that we get to hear from him. And then hopefully we'll have time for a second breakout room very quickly. But let's go ahead. Mihai, are you ready? Is that all right for you to go ahead and share?
I'm always ready.
Love it.
Super, super. Thank you so much. Hi to everyone. So happy we are in this context. I mean, I hope that we'll be able to find ways to replicate such such spaces of discussion with this topic everywhere, absolutely everywhere. To start with, in libraries, and not only among ourselves, that we are more professional, and then we think that we are maybe we tackled these subjects more than others, but also these subjects to be discussed at the level of citizens, the local communities, all ages, and so on. So I would pick up what you, Giuseppe, just mentioned with VDEM Institute, for instance, because what I'm going to share now with you is starting from indicators of democracy. So in our work at EduCab, this is a platform and a program trying to help libraries to or to build libraries, but to help eventually libraries to maximize their potential as community hubs, knowledge hubs for all ages, for all your lifespan. And we looked at how libraries are the best places to mediate democratic behaviors. Not only information about democracy, but mainly how can we move from knowing what democracy is, or thinking that we know what democracy is, to actually experiencing it, and to be able to see it when it's happening, because this is what we've been looking for the last 15, 20 years. And we've seen that sometimes democracy is experienced at the level of perception, that it's something out there. It's not touching me. It's not something that makes us hear each other, respecting, now somebody is talking, somebody else is listening, and all these things, but it's something out there where you don't touch it. And we called that democracy distance. Sometimes we look at it through elections, institutions, the governance indicators, but on the other hand, we know, and we should know, that it's experienced locally in the daily interactions between people and the institutions that shape our lives as citizens, or people that are living in a community. So starting from this pieces that we've put together, we realize that one of the issues that we have, including in states, in countries that are having long tradition on in democracy, is that we are losing it, and we are losing it as when we see it in polls, right? When we see it in the how if we take a decoupage from the European Union, how the extremist parties are getting more and more support, and they are more and more voted from the Netherlands to Germany, from Romania, where they are at around 35%. If elections would happen tomorrow, people say that in a proportion of 35 to 40% would vote an extremist party. So from emerging democracies to established democracies, everywhere we see that something is not happening right. And for us, one of the things we've looked at is like how we experience democracy and how we look at democracy and how we understand it. And if you are in your life, you are in a village somewhere in let's say in Romania, and you don't think that democracy is about what you are doing on your daily basis, then it's something that you don't fight for, right? You don't want to defend democracy because you don't feel that you are part of it. And that's where we've stayed starting 2017, 18. We started to look at the indicators, at the institutions that are measuring the state of democracy in the world. Giuseppe, you've mentioned the VDEM Institute, but you have all the others like Freedom House, etc. And we've looked through hundreds of indices and indicators, trying to see, with the experience that we have working with hundreds of libraries in many countries, a lot of them in Romania because we are here based, but also in Nepal, Indonesia, in Senegal, in Bangladesh, in other places, Sierra Leone, Tanzania, Kenya, etc., Guatemala. And we tried to see what indicators can naturally be tackled by a library, a public library, a school library, a community library. We are working mainly with community and public libraries, but this is true for also other types like school ones. And we got to a point where we've looked at, I think, 68 or 70 indices and indicators, and we realize that these are naturally addressed by some services that are either directly tackled by a library. The librarian knows what to and has the knowledge, the expertise to give it directly to the community, or maybe it's through a partner. You are inviting somebody and you are offering the space, the equipment there, and then you just invite the community that is interested in that particular country, or you are just maybe curating some projects, programs, activities for the community. So these three types of involvement you can have. And something that I want to show you is where we've got, and this is a discussion I had with the conference team, and I'm very happy I have the opportunity to show this to you. So this is it. Let me know if you see it.
We can see it.
Super. So we've called it democracy within all policies, because we were at a stage where we don't look at civic education, education on democracy, etc., only as a subject in school, that you have it as you have mathematics or geography, and then that's it. But we see that actually pretty much each subject, if we take the school, can tackle somehow, can talk about democracy within their subject. And here, nurturing democracy ecosystems for public libraries. So we are talking about indicators of democracy, and I will zoom a bit because I was mentioning 68 to 70 indices and indicators. This is one, right? Press and media freedom. This is another one, freedom of academic and cultural expression. But this is another one with women's civil liberties, women's civil society participation, on exclusion, access to jobs, power distributed by urban and rural location, addressing disasters and emergencies. Well, let's take deliberation, reason, justification, engaged society. These are most of the indicators are from the methodology of VDEM Institute. In my opinion, in our opinion, is the institute that has one of the most comprehensive list of indicators there. And civil society, equal protection, equal access, equality before the law. These are the big, the clusters, but then access to justice, secure property rights. So what we've done, having this list of indicators, and we said, okay, let's start with this. And we've started with this 68 indicators because this, in our experience working already with libraries, we knew that something happened or can happen in communities through a library. And then we've done an exercise in order to get to what you've seen here, activities, types of activities. We did this exercise the same with different stakeholders. On one hand, librarians. We asked them without giving them only the indices. What do you think? What did you do already, or you would feel comfortable to do within a library in order to tackle that particular indices or indicator? And then we talked with civic educators, people that are promoting democracy through courses, events, etc., from NGOs and so on. And then local authorities, local councillors, mayors, vice mayors, and then the EduCab team. So each, they did their own, and we did this exercise without knowing what the others are doing, and then we combined the results. Of course, there were a lot of overlaps, but also a lot of areas where we got maybe only from the local authority something, or only from the library something. And here, where what you see unbolded are the combining all this information that we've got, the list of potential activities that a librarian can do directly or indirectly in the library, through the library, in order to engage communities in democratic practices and behaviors, and to tell them that that's democracy, small-scale democracy, right? It's not the big thing where you are talking only about voting and then governance and so on. But let's give you this one. Access to justice, right? Providing access to networks of justice-related professionals and information sources, official platforms, portals, databases, partnerships with law firms, and so on. Events on justice-related subjects, toolkits and guides on access to justice. This is something that you don't have to do it yourself because you are not a professional in this, but you are bringing the professional that has the expertise, and then the community connects to the expertise that is he or she needs through you. It's a list of lawyers that are providing pro bono or paid services on specific matters, violence, right? Violence, domestic violence, and so on. Then there that you go to the library, and then the librarian will open the laptop, and then open a document where it has a list of lawyers or other professionals that can provide these kinds of service. Secure property rights. This was a discussion that we had for extensively with some librarians. Like, what can I do on that? And then eventually we're like saying, you just providing the space where the community meets the professional, helping filling in various requests and forms for financial aid, promoting the importance of having cadastral documents, and so on. So if you look, and this is just a list, right? You can look through it. I can provide the link to it on our website, but then we can expand it as much as we can. Now, another thing that we've been doing, working and having a platform where we have um, where we are keeping in contact with the libraries that we have in our network. And again, these are public libraries or community libraries in various countries where we start the project. There are no public libraries necessarily, or in that particular area, so we help start from scratch, build libraries. And then we've started this platform, this EduCat platform. I will share it in a second. And this is it. Here it is. So here it's, let me show you a dashboard. So here we have, it's relatively new. So we have for now 223 libraries, public libraries in Romania, but that also the ones that we started to work with, or we've built in other countries, like in Bangladesh, Indonesia, etc. But now the thing is that each a library, and I can take, let's take one here. So if you take this public library here in Vâlcea County, and then you open the calendar, we've added here a functionality where the librarian can build her own library or calendar of events, activities. Then for each of these activities that she has, she can also connect with an indicator or indices of a democracy. And then at the end, Krina, can see what areas she focused more during a period of time. Let's say you can take a 6 months period or 1 year period, and you realize that you are having less I don't know, less activities on women's rights, right? And then how to work more strategically related to promoting democratic practices. And if you also tell people that you are interacting with and you are exposing to various activities like this, that when you were talking about addressing disasters and emergencies, and you are bringing, I don't know, firefighters to, as we are doing, for instance, in Romania, I'm also working in emergency, and then we did a partnership where librarians got support from paramedics, fire brigades, etc., to come in the communities and through the library to organize first aid courses, what to do during different I don't know, emergencies, natural disasters or others, and then promoting the national platform, Be Prepared.ro, where it's a collection of guides, etc. And if you are telling people that actually addressing disasters and emergencies through the library is not out of nowhere, it's part of a bigger thing, whereby the level of resilience in a community gives also a bit of the level of democracy in that community. Knowing what to do in terms of disasters, what to do for yourself, for your family, but also for your neighbors. It's showing you actually a democratic context in there. And you have more chances for people to understand that each day they are facing several times, maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 times, they face small scale, what we call them, democracies. Not the big one, the polling. Yeah, but we vote every 4 years, every 5 years. No. But what's happening in between? And the last thing I want to show you also on this infographic, it's once you start to look at your activities in the library through these lenses, through these glasses showed here, then you are starting to bring in people, institutions, sectors to be present in your community. And if in large communities this happens by default, to have a chance to be exposed to a lot of professionals like you see here and institutions, if you are going more and more into smaller communities, towards the small town, to the village, and so on, then the chances are that you have fewer opportunities to interact with these people. So you would need to grow or to get out of that community. Sometimes it's happening naturally because you grow and then you go from the elementary school to the high school, which is not maybe in your village, and then from high school you go to the nearby town, and then you go to the faculty, maybe to the city, if the nearby town does not have a faculty. So yeah, you might get to the point where you get to the bigger community, to the larger community, and have the opportunity to be exposed to this. But what we are saying and the way we are building the EduCare project is that if in your formation period you were not exposed to these things, all that we are talking about here, or most of this, is less likely that you are going to want to consume such information, such institutions, such professionals, and what they are providing, if you didn't take anything in your formation period. No emotions, no thoughts, no anything. So it's a matter of how do we bring these professionals to the local communities, especially the small communities, in order to give more chances to the local communities to actually have the context to behave as citizens, right? And to consume democracy. And and the library is essential because we'll become the host for such, psychologists, HR professionals, legal professionals, writers, academics, all journalists, NGO people, and so on. And then the library becomes the venue for curating this. It's the space, and we have 500,000 community and public libraries around the world. We have another 2.5 million school libraries around the world. So it's a huge army of democratic spaces, like agora in miniatures, as we see them. And it's it's a matter of reinventing, especially in these troubled times, reinventing the libraries as democracy hubs, and for librarians to understand that their work is not it's providing and promoting democracy behaviors, but in a very, very, it's like a river, right? It's not in your face, but it's there. Because usually when you are talking about access to jobs, you will not think automatically to democracy, or as we were talking about, where is it? Freedom of movement somewhere. So
Mihai, do you
yeah,
mind if I just try to sum you up real quick, because I want to allow some time for people to ask you some
absolutely,
questions,
absolutely,
if
absolutely.
that's all
Just to
right?
end the sentence
Please.
is that we had some librarians who said, yeah, well, what can we do in terms of freedom of movement? We have freedom of movement in Romania. It's like, sure, but then the fact that you are helping in a village, you librarian, you help this old lady that is coming to you saying that her daughter or nephew sent the boarding pass for the plane that she is supposed to take in order to visit that I don't know, nephew or something in another country, and then you help that person to print that boarding pass, that you help that person to have, not to go to the larger city where she might there find a place to print a document and so on. So it's sometimes these very small things, as again called them small scale democracies, that are counting, and piling this up, then it gives you, I think, a more honest image of what democracy and how democracy looks at the local level. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think everyone is very keen to see those resources that you shared in your presentation. So thank you so much. And I apologize because I did not give you the proper introduction by giving a little bit about some of your roles, which are very diverse and many. So I will do that now. So your full name is Mihai Lupu, and you're the founder and catalyst of EduCab, a fellow at the Yale Global Justice Program, and a board member at Academics Stand Against Poverty. So a lot to look into there. I wanted to highlight, I really loved what you said about thinking about just kind of access to legal services. And at the BPI in France and Paris, one of the things that they offer in their library is I forget if it's once a month or twice a month, but they have actually legal experts that are available that have office hours in the library, and people can go in and ask their questions. And that's just kind of an incredible resource because, like you said, as librarians, we're not legal experts, but we can provide that service. We can provide access. So I would love to now open it up. I apologize, we went over on time. So I would love it if people would just raise their hand, ask a question in the chat. We have about 5 minutes, a little bit more potentially. Do libraries charge for the use of their rooms? Specifically at the BPI, they do not, because it's a free service. But I'm not sure if you were asking me that question.
And most of the public libraries don't charge. Being a public service, you just book the room, and then you know that you have it to use.
Giuseppe, you have a question.
Yes, fascinating presentation. Sorry, I just I just wanted to show that I have a face and not only a voice. So now it's done. I I think I don't have time to show the indicators that we found for our report because we are running out short of time. But this report will be published soon. So a good result is that I got to know Mihail Lupu, whom I didn't know before. It's a pity that we didn't know before because actually the investigation was also carried out in Romania, thanks to a member, an EBLIDA member, which is the Association of Public Libraries in Romania. However, from what I see, there are some indicators, actually several main indicators set up by the EduCap. Then I also found that there are very interesting indicators set up by ICROM or ICROM, I don't know. ICROM is actually an agency that deals essentially with museums, but since they found indicators for all SDGs and also for SDGs including SDG 16.10, which is the normal indicator to assess freedom of expression in libraries, then we looked at them. We also looked at the indicators set up by IFLA, but we found that they were too general because they were actually applying VDEM indicators to libraries without actually, and so this is why we didn't follow the IFLA instructions, let's say, or the IFLA indications. I do not pretend that I think that really we should really talk about indicators because I do not pretend that TEL indicators are the good ones, not at all. But definitely there is a lot of talk about indicators, and there must be a solution there. And I hope that EBLIDA will find this solution for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that call to action and that quite specific request. I think that's super helpful, and I think that's something that we'll be in talks about. So thank you for that recommendation. Are there any other questions or comments that people would like to share before we close? Thank you for sharing in the chat, Mihai, the link.
Absolutely. I've shared on one hand this infographic that diagram that I use for the presentation, but also a text that I've been that somehow prepared the this methodology of work. I would only add that we've also had, and maybe we can have another discussion with those that are interested. Like Giuseppe, I would love to hear what you've been doing and you are working on, because we also went very, very proactive with some libraries that were interested to go deep dive in this, whereby we said, okay, take this diagram, take this thing, and then look at what do you think is most useful for your community, because you know your community, and then we take, I don't know, 5, 6 subjects, and then let's build projects for each of them. So then you have a collection of projects that are being delivered directly from this, not necessarily things that you are already doing it maybe, and then you're just connecting to an indicator. So it becomes more complex. Afterwards, then, if you also add, let's say, museums, what museums can do to tackle some of these indicators, and then what a local NGO, and then if you look on civil liberties, etc., what can a library do, what can a museum can do, what the local NGO, and then you might have a red thread there. So it can get as complicated as we have resources to do this.
Thank you so much. And I wanted to just highlight that Juliana would like to take the mic. Please share your question.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Mihai. It was very interesting. Maybe there's a short answer because we don't have much time left. How did the network come about? Like Romania, Bangladesh, Somalia, that's an interesting network. How did that happen?
Yeah, well, it's hard to have a very simple answer, but we've tested the methodology in Romania in 2013, 12, 13, and then we've initiated it as EduCab, which stands for Educational Capacity Building in Local Communities. So it's a mechanism of building capacity at the level of the social infrastructure that you have in a local community, and we've started with libraries as we see them with the most potential for that. And then we've started it in Nepal. That was very it was by chance there. I was in an expedition there. We stopped at a school on our way, and then we realized that these people were having nothing, but then they were like, we would need these things like a library, a computer center, and we said, but what if we start one? But we cannot do it. We cannot possibly do it. It's like, if you do something, we do something, and our local partner there is doing something, then and this was the principle that guided us for all the other projects. And then people somehow started to hear about us, and then this happened I was in the States at a conference presenting EduCab, and then it's Abdi, a gentleman in wheelchair, came to me and said, hey, I have a project in Somalia and in Kenya. I want to be the EduCab team for you guys. So we went there, and then we interacted with the Abdi's team, which was William and the team, and then we've started the project there. The same happened in Sierra Leone. The same happened in Indonesia and other places. So we don't have EduCab entities there, but the project EduCab becomes a project of a national or a local partner. So this is how we've spread, and now we are having people that are circulating from one country to another, because it's a matter of exchanging best practices and resources and so on. So this is growing. We got to over 500 libraries, community and public libraries around the world that we are working with, and that we had some very concrete actions there, from a donation to maybe implementing a project directly or through partners. So it's growing like this organically.
Thank you so much. And thank you for those of you who post questions. I'm going to just go ahead and share for the closing. I apologize that we have reached the end of our time for today. But I just wanted to leave you all with a request. And it's for you to think about, and you're welcome to write it in the chat if you wish, or just to jot it down, put it in your brain. What's an intervention you want to implement? Meaning, how do you want to kind of continue this work? In my group, we talked about, using book clubs, film screenings. I hope you had some great ideas going about ways that you could involve yourself in this work of promoting democracy through the library. You'll be receiving a questionnaire by email. We would greatly appreciate it if you took the time to fill it out. Thank you so much for your time. And please, if you have not, go ahead and join us on LinkedIn by adding yourself to the European Library Association Network group on LinkedIn. So Camila, if you don't mind sharing that group in the chat again, or I can as well. So please go ahead and join there so that you'll be aware of the next ELAN session, which will be coming up potentially in September. And if you didn't watch Pillar 1, that was also recorded, and so you can watch that from the EBLIDA site as well. And so just as a closing, thank you again for your participation. Everyone's doing tremendous work. Please reach out with any comments. Thank you for being here. Asman, Mihai, thank you for your presentations. Amazing.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thanks to everyone that could join.